10x your service design offering with Smapply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smapply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smapply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of This Is HCD. My name is Gerry Scullion, and today in the show I'm delighted to welcome somebody I hold in the highest regard, and that is Darragh McCullough, founder of Elm Grove Farm in County Meath in Ireland. And today we're going to be watching a live walking podcast through the farm that Darragh set up, or his parents set up. We'll learn more about that. One of the reasons why I found this topic to be so interesting was the family rituals that we've formed over the last 2 years. As you know, I've got 2 young children, and one of the key reasons for us to return to Ireland was to get back to basics in many ways, get back to nature, get back to our culture, and celebrate what it means to be Irish. And Darragh McCullough has really created something that I believe to be a really shining example, not just in the northeast of Ireland, but all of Ireland, and generally speaking anywhere in the world who wants to try and make a difference. Darragh's parents set up Elm Grove Farm, a very successful flower business, and over the last 2 years it's shifted and now it goes B2C, and the experiences that we have there weekly, whether that's collecting eggs from the hens or going and saying hello to the donkeys and, you know, having great coffee, great food, it just could not have happened by chance. There had to be somebody behind it, and I wanted to understand the beauty of how this all came about. Now, as luck would have it, we're about to walk by some starlings, which doesn't get any better than that. A baby murmuration is just taking float as we speak. And anyway, there's something to treasure there. It's always something that makes me smile. But going back to this episode, Darragh is remarkable. We learn about how and why he designs these experiences and what's really important to him. We learn about modern farming techniques, that really sustainability is at the center of everything that Darragh does. And we really talk in depth about what it means for the future of farming in Ireland, but just farming in generally. It's a fantastic example for us as change makers to see what is possible. One of the key pieces that I think you're going to enjoy the most is Darragh focuses and places a large emphasis on collaboration, which, as you know, is at the center of human-centeredness. He doesn't leave that to chance. He's got a mindset that is built for this, and there's some key learnings that I've taken from that as well, and I hope you will too. Enjoy the episode. If you're new around here, please subscribe to the podcast. Those beautiful algorithms really get a little bit excited when people follow and like and share, and that helps the podcast grow, helps new listeners and so forth. Darragh, it's great to have you here. Delighted to have you on the podcast. I am a customer. You know me from coming up here every weekend with my kids. So it's deeply part of our weekend rituals in my own family. But maybe to get started, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. And I'm going to ask you the difficult question about, how do you describe what you do?
Yeah, well, it depends on the day of the week, to be honest, Gerry. So I wear lots of different hats. I suffer from the attention span probably of an ant, in the sense that I'm easily distracted, and I love a new project. I love innovation, and that's what we've tried to do here on the farm the whole time. Yeah. So I work sometimes as a journalist. I'll take you around here. We go for a walk through the fields. Yeah. So I work as a journalist in print and TV and radio, but my full-time job, and while 90% of the people, I'll take you through the garden centre here, 90% of the people I meet know me from my media profile, but actually 90% of my time is spent here on the home farm. So this farm was bought by my granddad just after the Second World War. And he came from just up the road there, Monster Boyce, across the county boundary. And when he came here first, to my mind, like I come from a long line of innovators, and really all I'm trying to do is keep up with them. When he came here because it was close to the railway line, and it was the start of a refrigeration and the possibility of distributing liquid milk to every household in the country. In other words, you didn't have to have a cow to have liquid milk on your cornflakes in the morning. So he could see that change coming, and he had cows, and he wanted to be able to supply this market. It was a demanding market. It had much higher specs in terms of the sanitary requirements and the quality of the milk. But he knew that there would be an extra margin in that product. So he came here because this was close to the railway line. It had good access to Dublin, where the main market was, and we had light free draining soils. So that was the start of the farming innovation in my family, and from my perspective. My dad came after him, and he was one of the first farmers in Ireland to import new breeds of cattle like Charolais, which at the time back in the 60s and 70s were kind of considered the AI of beef breeding. And then we were one of the first farmers in the country to put in robotic milking machines. And that's 25 years ago. There's guys today who think, the idea of milking a cow robotically is kind of sci-fi. But we were doing that on this farm 25 years ago. So really, anything I've done since then is really just piggybacking on that platform of innovation, of thinking outside the box, of trying to see where the opportunities are.
So from a family perspective, you've been around innovation from the get-go.
Yeah.
Is the farm, the cattle, is that still in the family?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're standing here in the garden centre. This is one of the most recent additions to the setup here. But and again, 90% of the public see this part of the farm. This is the public facing, the consumer facing side of it. But actually the majority of the farm is doing what most farms do. It's working away there silently in the background. We have cows, and we have about 125 acres dedicated to dairy cows, and I'm in partnership with my neighbour on a dairy enterprise. So again, collaboration to try and achieve the scale required to maximise the profitability from that enterprise. And I can only spread myself so thin. I'm lucky to be living beside a guy who's brilliant at milking cows. He knows all the angles in terms of optimizing the sustainability, in terms of economically, socially and environmentally from dairy farming, because we can have a whole conversation about 100%. The impacts of dairying and farming in general. I mean, you cannot get up in the morning as a farmer and not have an impact on the environment. And to me, the question is, how do we minimize that impact? It's not about culling the national herd or forgetting about farming, let everything go wild again, and just hoping that our food magically appears in our plate. We've got to, I think, keep food production in this country. We've got to stick at farming what we're good at farming, and we've got to do it in the most environmentally sustainable way. See the way I get distracted?
I know, it's completely completely cool. But the reason why I know you is, just to give you a background, so March 2024, I grew up in Darragh, so a funny little anecdote is my mum actually held you as a baby in my family business. I was telling you that one day. So it's kind of funny to have that relationship.
But that's Ireland.
But this is very much
because
an Irish
it's such a close-knit community, really, and we're a small country, right?
I used to pass up and down this road as a child, and I brought my kids to the St. Patrick's Day parade in Darragh, and we were up there, and we were coming back, and my kids said, "Look, there's hens in there," and I was like, "Oh yes, there's probably been hens there for ages. I haven't noticed it." And I saw them chopping the daffodils, and there was kids running through the fields, and I was like, let's swing in here, we'll have a look. And you'd only recently opened, I think, at that stage. Is that about right at the time?
So this whole retail site is only about 2 years old, yeah.
So it was probably a little bit before that. But this is new ground, if you want, for the McCullough family and for Darragh. So how and where did this come about?
Okay, so the farm up until COVID, was a primary producer. We didn't deal with the public at all. So what we did was we were producing milk from our dairy herd, we were growing cereals, and we were growing cut flowers. But the cut flowers were being harvested and sent into supermarkets or being exported abroad. When COVID happened, this is a polytunnel that we're standing here. And this is converted polytunnel, so I've converted it into retail space. But this was one of my 4 polytunnels that was full of flowers that we were growing for supply into florists, for supply into supermarkets. And COVID happened and all the florists shut. And I was left looking at these polytunnels full of flowers. I'm going to take you this way around here. That's an indoor play area, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
That's where you have your lunch.
So we had all these tunnels full of flowers, and COVID hit and all my outlets were drying up. And I said, okay, what the hell are we going to do here? So I basically got onto a pal of mine who was designing websites at the time, and I said, listen, we've got to sell flowers nationwide. We just tell people, listen, we'll deliver flowers to their door. And he said, sure. And over the course of a long, stressful weekend, we got a website live, and we started sending out boxes of cut flowers to people all over the country. And this was COVID, and everybody was going nuts online, And I thought, wow, this is the future. This is where we're going to be at. That was my first kind of real light bulb moment when I went, do you know, why weren't we doing this before now? Now, I'm going to muddy the water a little bit. We were flogging flowers at the farm.
You were, because I remember that as a kid. Is that right?
Up to that, yeah. So we've been flogging flowers out of buckets. Literally, like, this sounds ridiculous, but they were buckets that we used to feed milk to the calves, mounted on a pallet.
That's right.
At the side of the road. That was it, yeah? And the idea, and I tell this against myself, the idea for that was one of the guys who worked here was going to get married, and he needed to pay for his wedding. And we were growing acres of daffodils, but we were growing them for the bulbs. We weren't growing them for the cut flowers, because we were growing onions at the time, and we had all the kit for that, and that's what we were set up for. And John went out every Saturday morning for a couple of 2 months to pick daffodils to sell them at the gate to pay for his wedding. And I was looking at him. I was in my early 20s at the time, so I was more interested in beer and Skittles than actually doing a hard day's work. But I was looking at John selling these flowers on the side of the road, and I was going, why aren't we doing that? He paid for his wedding out of that, and it took one of the guys working for my dad to show me, actually, Darragh, here's a trick that you're missing big time. So yes, we were selling flowers in a small way to the public at the side of the road. Then COVID happened, and I needed to really pivot. So we went online. And then when we went online, I realized I needed florists to, arrange flowers, to make bouquets, to be able to deliver to people. I thought you could just put flowers in a box and get the address right and shove them out there in a DPD van. But actually, and this was a real learning curve for me. I went off the deep end of this. The message in the box. So very often people say, can I send a message? And I'm going, a message? I mean, you're sending flowers. Oh, okay, fine. We'll put a message in. And it was like, dearest Mary, so sorry to hear the passing of your husband, or whatever it was. Love, Dorothy, right? And there was all these heartfelt messages, and
very personal.
Very personal. I was messing it up because I was getting all these orders coming at me on WhatsApp, on the phone. I had no system set up. I was getting them mixed up. So Dorothy was getting a message for Anna, and Anna was getting a message for Dorothy, and that was a disaster. And so it was a major realization that, Darragh, you're actually selling more than flowers here.
Yeah.
You're sending people's heartfelt wishes and love and their thoughts and best wishes in a box. The flowers are almost incidental.
Yeah. It's the intent.
And so I realized, A, that this was a more complex business than I'd realized. B, I needed help, and I needed professional help. So I was then at the point where I needed to hire florists. We were selling flowers at the side of the road. I got a trailer, which I thought was a major upgrade on sitting in a van at the side of the road waiting for people to stop. But the florist informed me in no uncertain terms that, Darragh, this isn't really just exactly what we're used to. It's a bit agricultural. Like, we've no toilet facilities. We're on the side of a road. We can't actually, somebody comes in with a €500 order. There's cars banging by. We can't sit down and talk. So how do we scale?
Right.
So Darragh agonized over this a bit, and finally, and probably about 20 years too late, went and committed the money to build a flower shop down there.
Which was a big investment.
It was a
risk as well, probably, Darragh.
A massive risk, a massive investment, and but it paid off. And it paid off to the extent that we were selling flowers. So when I started building, these things keep on snowballing. So when I was saying to people, we're going to build a flower shop, they went, oh, great, and you probably do coffee with that as well. And I went, no, it's going to be a flower shop.
Yeah.
No, you'll do coffee. No, we've no experience of doing coffee. We're just going to start with flowers. Great, we'll see you for coffee. I go,
you have to get the kettle on.
Cheapers, we better do something for coffee. So I went off and I bought a coffee cart.
Yeah.
And we had our flower shop. And next thing we were doing farm veg, and then we were doing milk, and then we had our hens that your kids saw, and we had always trying to do something that's a little bit different from what you can get in a standard shop. So rather than just having your Ross 5615 hybrid, Ferrari hens that pump out eggs at a rate of knots, I said, we go and get different breeds that pump out different colour eggs.
Yeah,
and then when you open the egg box, you've got all these different colours and this mixed breeds. And people love that. So we sell out of eggs by 11 o'clock every morning. So we started with flowers on the side of the road. We built a shop, selling coffee. Then we're selling eggs. Then a guy rings me up and he says, hey, listen, I'm doing pizza from my back garden, and I'm a chef, and I've been trying to find a place, and I'm really struggling. Would you be interested in having a chat? And I said, okay, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
And that was when I met Shaba Simo, who does pizza that people now travel from Donegal to get a hold of. I'm going to take you into the field here.
Can I just stop you on that point there? So, we spoke about the old school way. Someone was selling flowers from the farm, and you replicated that same model, that same business model, and expected the same results. So, how do you stay on top of this, from a business perspective? You're always adding to the business. This is kind of the precursor for always this would make a great conversation, because we went up here. I must have been to cut the daffodils. It was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so pick your own daffodils, yeah.
And I was like, this is much bigger than I actually thought it was. We're walking through the farm here, and you can hear the birds and all that kind of stuff. But how do you stay on top of the additions to the business? And, it's probably quite stressful, I imagine.
Well, it's stressful for my wife anyway. Yeah. And probably a lot of the people around me. One of my weaknesses in life is that I need a little bit of pressure to get out of bed in the morning. I thrive under a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
And so I like having a challenge in front of me every day that I get up. And that's what motivates me. It is the downside of that. And so that's great if, we're in a space where we can try different things and they turn into profitable ventures. But it's challenging for the people that are around me, because I'm forever coming up with another idea, and they're going, Darragh, for the love of God, please stop. Yeah. And
so is Aoife your wife? Is that the person that says cool the jets? That's too much.
Well, Aoife and Colm and Ruth and a lot of the people the managers who work for me, what I suppose I've tried to get better at is capacity building in the team. So,
how'd you do that?
Well, like everything around here, it happens organically. Yeah. So, Colm is working with me in the office, and when he came to me, I'd actually studied ag science with him. He's a local farmer, and he was at a bit of a loose end, and he was looking for a part-time job. He's now my HR manager, right? So, and looks after my payroll, and that's skills he's learned on the job. And so sometimes HR is a great example. You need to be really on the ball with HR, because it's a very fine line between landing yourself in very, very hot water when you're managing people. So on occasion, we'll get onto maybe the local enterprise office and say, hey, listen, guys, we need help. We need training on upskilling ourselves, on creating an employee handbook or conflict resolution or whatever. Yeah. And they're great. They say, listen, we have this consultant who specialises in this area of expertise, and we have another guy over here who specialises in that, and we book you in for a slot and see how it goes. Yeah. And so as the challenges arise, we try and deal with them.
Are you in Meath here, or are you in Dublin? You're in Meath. So your Meath County Council supports you in that, in your local EO is Drogheda?
So Navan
is your local EO. Why isn't it in Drogheda? That's another conversation. So you're kind of organically growing, and it sounds like you've got lots of different types of customers. Is that right? So you've got the public. Talk to me about your customer base.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just here standing beside a field of Christmas trees, right? Yeah. I didn't mention anything about Christmas trees.
So we've gone from flowers to Christmas. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So to the untrained eye, this looks like a field of weeds. But when you start getting your eye in on the crop, you can see these lines of Christmas trees with different varieties here.
Insects everywhere here. Yeah. This is a great sign.
Hopping. And really, Christmas trees, we let them do their thing. I mean, you can manage Christmas trees very intensively. I'm not that pushed about managing them super intensively. So we could be out here spraying herbicide, and so there's less competition for the tree from the weeds. But to be honest with you, we're still getting a saleable product. It probably takes a year or two longer to get it to market. I'm not sweating over that. Yeah. In the greater scheme of things, if you do the maths, and I love the numbers behind all this stuff, an acre of land is worth €300 a year in land rent, okay?
Right.
So an extra year is €300, okay? Maybe an opportunity cost or whatever you want to add into that. The trees, we plant about, somewhere about 2,000 trees per acre. We'll harvest about 1,500 because we'll have a certain number of losses. And you'll sell those trees for €50 a tree.
Nice.
So the maths on that is that you have, €75,000 per acre. Now we're dividing it over 10 years because it takes 10 years to get the tree from zero to saleability. So that's $7,500 a year. The €300
is irrelevant.
It's not in the picture, yeah. So you asked me who's my customers.
Let's talk about that.
We're growing Christmas trees here, and the idea is that we can invite the public into our farm and let them choose their own tree and cut it. And so what I'm all the time looking for is either we produce something and we're able to compete with the biggest and the best in the world and go toe-to-toe with them on export markets. And we do that on daffodil flowers. We do that in milk.
Okay. So you've got Aldi, I think, is one of your big...
Lidl is who we supply our daffies into. We also supply into daffies into Poland. We supply them into the US. We supply them into Dutch auctions. We send them all over the world because we pick 12 million stems, 13 million, I don't know, stems of daffodils. Between friends, of daffies annually. and the Irish market's too small for that. So we export them all over the world. We milk 550 cows. 90% of Ireland's milk production is exported.
Yeah.
And we can do that because we can grow grass better than anyone else in the world, apart from the Kiwis. And that's a really sustainable model of milk production, in my opinion. We could also, Christmas trees is an example of a crop I could go two ways on.
Yeah.
I think we can grow Christmas trees and be competitive internationally because we've a great climate for it. There's a shortage of Christmas trees in Britain and on the continent. So we could actually, this is what we're looking at here is a plot that's 2 acres in size. We could be growing 200 acres of trees
and just
become a Christmas tree wholesaler and send them all over the world. I just don't have the bandwidth in my head and in my business to go scaling up the Christmas trees at this point. What I'm kind of doing is learning all the tricks of the trade, and we're selling them direct to the consumer.
Yeah.
So depending on the crop and where I'm at in my head, determines where we're going to go with the product. So a lot of the flowers we grow in the polytunnels down there, they're only little micro patches, and they all get sold through the shop.
So can I ask you about, so you've got these Christmas trees, you've got the flowers over there. Yeah. If you were, and I mean this in the greatest amount of respect, if you were a true businessman at its core, because you're a farmer as well, you would look at where the most profit is, and you would just do that and replicate it and make as much money as possible. What's stopping you from doing that?
Good question. So, a couple of things, and some of them are a bit more nebulous than others, right? Yeah. So, reason A, I think there's a good chance we have a good opportunity there to scale up a retail site down there. So we've already grown by double-digit percentage growth for the last 5 years, and that'll continue. And that's great. The margins are thin in retail, but we have a great opportunity to scale up something there that it will be a viable business in its own right. But it also does something else. It diversifies my risk a little bit on the farm.
100%.
So it's a little bit of a risk mitigation thing. So you can be really laser focused and say, okay, the most profitable thing I can do on this farm is, say, produce milk, for example, or grow Christmas trees. So I'm just going to carpet the place in Christmas trees. But then if a bug or an insect or something lands on Christmas trees in 5 years' time, we don't have a way to cure it, Christmas trees wiped out, and I'm high and dry. Yeah. Milk, has proven very resilient, but it has its own challenges. So, like, for example, we've had to reduce the stocking rates on our farm, on our dairy farm, to comply with environmental regulations. Yeah, not the quotas anymore. So there used to be a limit on how much milk it could pump out. They scrapped that, and everyone went gangbusters producing more milk. But then they realised, oh, hang on a second, lads, this is actually affecting our water quality. So what we're going to ask you to do now is dial back the intensity with which you're stocking your land, because it's the intensity of animals on the land that is creating that pressure on the biome. So by having the retail, it's diversifying. I also like retail because wholesale and primary production can be a little bit, what am I going to say? How do I describe this? A little bit heartless.
Soulless, yeah. Almost.
Yeah. That you're just pumping it out, pile it high, sell it cheap. Yeah. Whereas with the shop and the retail, it's a bit more creative.
Yeah.
It opens kind of a bigger variety of doors. I like the interaction with people. I mean, we're just after coming back from Ireland's biggest garden show event, which is called Bloom in the Phoenix Park.
Mic drop, Silver Guild, go.
Yeah. So we had a tremendous time. It was our first time ever. We went in the deep end, the usual, and it was pretty stressful, but we came out smelling the roses, next year in the pun, and picked up great awards, but also got a great buzz off it, dealing with the public and, spreading the word about, so many people who live, there's 1.5 million people live within 50k of this farm, 50 kilometres of this farm.
We're not far from Dublin.
And we just need to spread the word. Yeah. So those type of events help me do that. So being in the retail space energizes me quite a bit.
I sense it. Like, and when I come up on the weekends, it kind of connects the community as well. Like, we, as I mentioned, St. Patrick's Day, we come back up again this year, and we knew something was going to be going on in Elm Grove, and I rang up and they said, yeah, there's stuff going on. We met people here and then met them at the parade, coincidentally, and then the kids still ask for those people. That's probably a story you're not even aware of, but these little micro opportunities lead to other relationships, and it fosters. How important is it that there's a relative community building around this, and what does that look like in terms of your vision for the business?
Yeah, when I first sat down to draw plans for the shop.
Yeah. So what talk me through drawing up the plans.
Yeah.
What did that look like? Because some people are like, people might be farmers here, and they said, "Geez, could we do something like this?" How did you get started?
Yeah.
Like,
so look, where do you start in these things? You start at the beginning, and it doesn't have to be rocket science. Yeah. I sat down at a table and I said, okay, I need a building for my florists to work in and people to come in and park their cars, right? So I drew a square box in a field. That was the building, and I drew a bigger square box for a car park. And then I showed it to my mum, and she went, Darragh, they're the wrong way around, because people want to come into the car park, Mommy. Don't drive around the building to get to the car park. That's bananas. And I went, oh yeah, okay, duh. So that's how I started. I gave the sketch on the back of the fag packet to a local engineer, and he said, yeah, how do you want this to look, Darragh? I said, I want it to be as cheap as possible. Put me up a box, right? Yeah. And he said, yeah, no problem.
This is the shop down here.
Down here. Yeah. And so he did up a galvanized shed, a bit like this cattle shed here, with a fancier door and a few windows on it, right?
Yeah.
Smaller, but yeah, same thing.
Pretty much. Doesn't look like that now, though.
Well, this is the thing, right? So we put that into the planners. They kicked it back to me and said, Darragh, now, that's not really in keeping with the agriculture vernacular. And there was steam coming out of my ears reading this letter. I was going, agriculture vernacular? Like, how dare they? Come on up here and look at my other sheds. Tell me that's not the agriculture vernacular. And they said they want more natural components, natural materials incorporated into the build. And I was going, for God's sake, that's just adding unnecessary cost to it. Yeah. George said to me, who was doing up the plans, he said, Darragh, do you want the planning permission for this or not? And I said, yeah, I want it. It says, give them what they want. And so we put a nice curve on the top of the building. We got some nice larch to clad it. We did a nice whitewash exterior. And here's the funny thing. So now people come up to me and go, oh my God, Darragh, you did such an amazing job like, where did you get the vision for that? And the truth is often a lot more prosaic and ordinary and slightly accidental than people realise. And that's just life. Yeah.
This was a complex kind of setup. Okay. There was lots of stuff going on with it. And the byproduct of tackling those kind of complex problems is the accidental pieces. And you can see this is in action here, like, how do you, it sounds like your mindset is set up for this, like by default. If you go back to your parents, or you mentioned your mum was still, kind of integral in that setup. How was that formed for you? Because like you're able to receive an awful lot of this ambiguity and process it and get to a positive outcome. Yeah. What was it like growing up? And how did your mum, is your dad still?
Fortunate to have both my mum and my dad with me still. And I think one of the things that stands to me and to anyone who grows up in a family that runs a small business is they're kind of plugged into conversations around business from the moment that they're sitting at the dinner table, because the dinner table is the boardroom.
100%. Yeah?
And so Dad will come in and he's in a grump. Why are you in a grump? Oh, the bank manager's after turning me down for the loan. What happened? Oh, he said we didn't have enough collateral. Like, but the point I'm making is that So you've got a 5-year-old at the table, or an 8-year-old, or a 15-year-old, and they're hearing this, and they don't realize that this is actually business training. Yeah. That, okay, if I'm really going to pitch an idea to the bank, that I need to have the collateral in place, and that you need to tick all these boxes. So they're kind of absorbing this stuff osmotically. And so I feel that, you know, having grown up around a kitchen table in a farm, and a farm is, you know, employers, well, I'm told anyway, that employers love hiring kids from farms because they have a sense of what are the fundamentals of making a business profitable, how to be flexible and mobile, change with, you know, so the weather is terrible, we have to pivot and do this, or COVID happened or whatever.
100%.
And they just get on with it. Like, they don't get phased. Okay, so we're going to install the first of its kind robotic milker on this farm. Okay, how do we plumb it in? It's not, jeepers, do I not need to go and do a training course and, you know, get in a consultant or whatever? No, let's try it.
Yeah, there's risks with that. On that point about being around and osmosis and picking this stuff up, when your dad looks at what you're doing now at the moment, do you think, what has changed, I guess, from the 70s and 80s when he was running the farm? Do you think he could have done this in the 80s? And if not, what has changed culturally and societally to enable this to occur?
Yeah, it's another great question. And I'm conscious that I haven't answered some of the questions you already asked me. But
it's an organic conversation. Organic.
Yeah. Look, Ireland is a very different country now compared to, you know, 50 years ago is 1975. In 1975, I'm actually reading a book by Fintan O'Toole, and it's a great kind of potted history of the country and where we've come from over the last 70 years. But he was making a point that in the 50s, our biggest export from this country was beef.
Right.
Like, there was no pharma, there was no electronics, there was no services. It was beef.
Yeah, that was it. Cows.
Ireland is unrecognisable economically now compared to then. So what does that mean for a farm? Well, it means that there's a road there that is the old Dublin-Belfast road.
Yeah.
And there's 20,000 cars rolling up and down every day.
Yeah.
And there's a pile of money sitting in those cars.
Yeah.
In people's phones, and they're looking for a place to spend it. And they're looking for, so, you know, in those years since 1975, the Tesco's have arrived, the small corner shops have disappeared, the independent grocers have disappeared, butchers have disappeared, florists are disappearing, and they're being replaced by huge big box stores like your supermarket chain, whatever supermarket chain you care to name. So what can a farm offer? A farm can offer something different, totally different to that, a unique retail experience. And it's an experience. It's not, and this isn't, you know, I hear other retailers talking about come in and experience our whatever retail offering. But, you know, you're still walking into a big warehouse, with fancy lights. Here, you come into a working farm. You're surrounded by livestock that are producing the food that you can buy on the shelf right beside it. You can see the crops growing. You can talk to the people who are growing the crops. You can walk through the crops. You brought your kids in here and you picked daffodils. You can engage with the farmer. You can connect with nature, the people who are producing the food and the crops, and spend time in the great outdoors. I mean, what's not to love? But, you know, so many Irish farms and farms in general don't really see that as an opportunity. They see that, oh, that'd be hassle, oh, cheapers, public liability, oh, I couldn't be dealing with the public all the time.
Yeah.
And all those things are true to an extent, but like I feel that we're also guilty of cursing the darkness rather than lighting a candle. That, you know, there's an economic opportunity rolling by there every day, and all we need to do is come up with a reason, give them a reason to stop, pull in, and give us a few bob.
So I'm hearing there's lots of change, as we probably know, like mobile phone technologies, lots of cultural shifts. society kind of moving towards a better experience, you could have easily just opened up a florist here and said, okay, buy your flowers and then go home. Yeah. But there's an experience being had here. Okay, like what's the vision for this moving forward for you? Like in terms of
where does it all stop, Gerry?
Where does it stop? Because like I'm expecting to come here and there's gonna be a fun fair, Tato Park 2 or something here, like in a couple of months. That's a joke, of course. But like, you know, we mentioned about COVID, the risk, the impact that had on every business around here, and from that, you know, a positive came out of it. What's the future looking like, and where are the risks for a business like this? Because you could be exposed to more change.
Over here, Gerry, this is our peony rose plantation, okay? So we have about 20,000 peony roses. You can see here's a couple of flowers that just escaped the knife.
That's the thumbnail.
And it's gorgeous, isn't it?
Lovely.
And so
flower. Lovely flower.
So people go nuts for these, and that's why we grow 20,000 plants. Wow. We harvest. We're in the process of harvesting. You can see the buds on this next variety here. They're just ready to start cropping, and we'll be cropping them later on today. Why don't we just cover the farm in peony?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's about that risk mitigation thing that we grow a lot of peony. I'm making some money from them, but I don't want to put all my eggs into that basket. Yeah. And because I've been there. This farm when I took over, really its only enterprise after a year or two was daffodils.
Right.
And so the stress of getting your daffodil harvest right and everything riding on that.
Yeah. Is massive.
And having to pay the wages on the back of that and being subject to whatever comes out of the sky, and I have no control over that.
Yeah.
That was an uncomfortable place to be. Where do we go from here? Yeah, what's the future look like? I think the future for this farm is going to remain diversified. Yeah, I think it's important. There's a really fine line between becoming a bit scattergunned.
Yeah.
Where we lose focus on anything and we're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And being nicely diversified where we have a little piece of that and we have a little piece of that and we have a little piece of that. So if you were to come back to me in 20 years' time, this is a whole other podcast.
No, it's great because of a few other lines of question from this.
Because, you know, what is our weather doing? Our weather is changing.
100%.
Yeah. So you'll notice here we have trickle fertigation systems here, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm microdosing the plants with fertilizer. That helps me be more efficient with the amount of fertilizer we're using. We're not spreading it all over the place. It's going right straight to the root of the plant, and we can tailor the formula to exactly what the plant requires.
So how do you do that? Like, because like I know listeners will be like, okay, once they hear fertilizer, insecticides, all of these different things, how do they make sure that that's not making the soil or damaging the water beds?
Gotcha. So there's no insecticide being used here at all.
Right.
So it's a feed, okay? Right. And so it's not, it's basically stuff that is in the ground already. Yeah. So your nitrogen, your potassium and your phosphorus are your three key nutrients. We might put in a little bit of selenium, we might put in a bit of copper, and again that's just to harden up the leaf. It's to give the plant exactly the right nutrients that it needs. How do we know we're not polluting the water table? Well, my well for my house and my baby is over there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know of any greater impetus for a farmer to manage what's going down through his soil than to be consuming what he produces from his own fields. Absolutely. Right? And so the water that we drink from that well over there in those trees is coming from an aquifer under where we're standing.
Right.
So if I mess that up,
you mess you up.
I mess me up and my little baby girl.
Yeah.
And so that is my motivation.
Poor Aoife, by the way, there.
Poor Aoife. Aoife counts too. So we soil test.
Right.
So we take soil samples, we analyze it, we see where it's deficient, and that's how we tailor the recipe. Yeah. So we soil test every year and we adjust the recipe every year. And so it's not in my interest for my health to over fertilize, but also for my pocket.
I know, absolutely. So one of the things that I've noticed, and you've probably more than definitely been aware of your own kind of potential here, but when people see the shop that's down here, and then they see the pizza farm, and then they see the dairy farm, it's collaboration is one of those pieces. If you're greedy, you'd be like, I'm going to set up my own pizza place. I'm going to hire a pizza, chef, and I'm going to build that, and I'm going to look after you, become a megalomaniac, and you're spread far too thin. Is that one of the strengths that you see about seeing opportunities within the community to bring them in and creating an employable workforce, and it becomes...
Big time. So, if I want to do a lot of a few things, I've got to be comfortable with delegation and partnership.
Yeah.
And so they're two similar but different things. So delegation is where I employ somebody and I delegate that task to them. Yeah. And partnership is where I get into bed, metaphorically, with somebody.
Metaphorically.
And say to them, all right, you get this and I get this, and the first thing we agree is how it all ends. Yeah. So again, I feel that Irish farmers are very fearful of partnerships because they feel they're losing control, that somebody else knows their business, whatever, a whole load of reasons. I'm kind of the opinion that, you know what, again, with that diversification and risk mitigation piece in mind, that if I can harness my neighbour's brilliant skill set for managing and milking cows, and I can have him look after a part of my asset, and I can get a return out of it that I'm satisfied with. Happy days. I don't have to think about it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I meet with him. We discuss how things are going on, and it's my responsibility to manage my assets. Yeah. But it's a massive workload off my plate. Absolutely. And again, the pizza, Shaba does world-class pizza. Yeah. He actually told me he went to Naples last spring and he went around the top 10 rated pizzerias. Naples is the home of pizza. Yeah. And he went around the top 10 restaurants in the Naples region to sample all their pizzas. And he was delighted because only 2 of them came up to the mark in his estimation. Yeah. But he's got the time, the motivation to go, get in a plane, go to Naples, look up all those guys, go out, visit them all, and make an assessment and come back and say, yeah, okay, we're going the right direction here.
Here's a question on that, right? So you've got a great visionary, somebody who's got a really high standard. How do you ensure the partnerships you bring into your business live to your standards?
Yeah, good question. There's no guarantees. Yeah, and so I think the most important thing about a partnership is that on day one, everyone sits down and agrees how they're going to finish, right? So before you commit anything, you agree how you're going to wind up. And that gives everybody a clear exit sign, a clear exit door. Because if somebody feels that they're trapped in something or that this isn't working and they don't know how to get out of it, it just goes rancid in no time. Yeah. So what the kind of fundamentals that I try to, and look, I haven't done that many partnerships, but that have worked for me so far, is that if the person wants, if the 2 people need to be coming to the equation saying, yes, I need you and you need me. Yeah. You've got something that I want and I've got something that you want. We can come together, we can combine those 2 things, and if it doesn't work out, we know how to get out of this.
Yeah, pretty much.
How, in Shaba's case, right, it was an email, right, and people would say, jeepers, Darragh, this is crazy. I got an email from, and I never heard of him in my life, this is the pizza guy. Yeah. And it was a really nicely worded email, and just said, it was really polite, it said, hi, Darragh, dear Darragh, just to let you know, I called in for a coffee in your recently established coffee shop, and I really enjoyed what I was served, how I was served it, and the ambience around it. I'm a very experienced chef that is trying to get a takeaway pizza business established. I'm currently working out of my back garden, and I've been trying for a year to find a location. I would love to be able to sit down with you and discuss the possibilities. And then there's a randomer, don't know him from Adam. You get emails all the time from people fishing, whatever. But I said, do you know what? I'll give him a ring. Oh yeah, listen, can I come out and visit you? He said, yeah, no problem. He said, when will it suit? I said, this afternoon. Give him no time, yeah?
Right.
He was in Balbriggan. I got into my car, drove up there, and he had a little shed out the back of his garden in an estate, and the place was immaculate.
Now, can I ask you, what pizza did you order?
I said, give me a margarita, because to test pizza, you want to test the fundamentals and not have it disguised with all the fancy ingredients, yeah? So the fundamentals are the ragu, the Parmigiano, the dough, yeah, and whatever season he's got in there. And he served me up a margarita, and man, oh man, I said, sold. Yeah.
Done deal.
And he's actually operating out of a trailer that was, I got made here 20 years ago as a mobile farm unit. One of my many ventures during my farming career, I teamed up with an organisation called Agri-Aware, and the idea was that we would bring our farm animals around to schools and show kids, number one, what farm animals look like and sound like, and two, what is their role in our food system. And immediately a lot of adults kind of go, geez, I mean, so you're bringing a piglet to a school, and like, how would that go down? You know, we say to kids, listen, what do we get from pigs? And they'd all look at me and kind of go, and then one fella down the back go, sausages? And you go, bingo.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, but, and then you go, yeah, but that's what we have to do. And to pop that vacuum that can develop between people's perceptions and theories about food and connect them with the realities early in life,
very important.
in my opinion, is key.
Very important. We moved home from Australia. I think I said this the first time I met you. I said, I moved home from Australia for these experiences, like cultural sort of design in action almost. And the ability to be able to go and see the hens. And when I say to my children, I says, what do you feel? And they go, I feel warmth. I says, where did it come from? Yes. And I go, it came from the hen. And I go, okay, cool, let's go. And we'll make pancakes, we'll make stuff with it. So we get our eggs for the week up here as well. And it's, you know, probably a little bit more expensive, but we get the experience with it as well. And we're paying for that experience. It's really heartwarming to see these things. Like there's a number of these businesses that I see popping up around Ireland, like, you know, so kudos to you, kudos to the risk, kudos to the team here, because we come up every weekend. You've got an amazing workforce here. You're very lucky to have all of these staff that we've sort of become friends over the last couple of years. So we're going to wrap up, you know, and if there's anything that you want to shout out to the team out there at the moment, because you did a big exhibition in Bloom, as you mentioned, and there's a large social media following sort of coming off the back of that. Someone said 10,000 people have just followed you in the last couple of weeks or something. Kudos to you. Like, anyone you want to give a shout out to in particular?
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to go back to a question that I got distracted from. Yeah, and that was, you said, what does this mean for the community?
Yeah.
And I've been really taken back by the number of people that have come to me and said, Darragh, you know what you've created down there? It's a great addition to the community, to the locality. And honestly, and I say this against myself again, when I was asking George to do up the plans for the box to give my florists a bit of comfort, I was not thinking about adding to the community. I was thinking about ways to keep my florists on my payroll and content and sell my flowers. 100%. So the fact that it has snowballed into something that has been so much more has been a little miracle, to be honest with you. And I feel so lucky and grateful that, you know, number one, I have a farm to do these types of things, that I have the staff around me to enable me to bring these dreams and aspirations to real life, and hopefully to create something that, you know, when I'm long gone, people say, do you know what, that fella, he had some good ideas.
Oh, no, absolutely. And Grace, you know, which we can probably, we'll keep recording on the way back, but Grace, baby Grace, is going to obviously, hopefully, maybe take over. We don't know. Like, it's something for them to...
Succession on farms, what a topic. Holy cow. That's podcast number 3. But, you know, farmers, there's a major problem out there. So the average age of farmers in Ireland currently is something like 58 to 62 years of age. There's a huge problem out there because young people aren't getting we'll just walk down through the field here. By the way,
this is potato starch, correct?
So this is a really good example of technology in action that people drive by in their cars every day, and it doesn't look like much. In fact, it looks like a bit of a mess, but this is technology at work. So in 30 seconds, this is a maize plant, right? And it is native to tropical areas. So it's no business growing in Ireland, yeah? But we are able to grow it in Ireland through the use of varieties that hack this climate, and B, the way we plant it. And the way we plant it is under this film. And what the film does is it creates a little greenhouse. So if you just go a bit further up here, you can see initially the plastic is covering the seed. It's like a little greenhouse there. The seed rockets out of the ground. And then because the plastic is so soft, the plant is able to push its way up through it. And this is made out of a starch derivative. It literally melts in the sun. So the sunlight, the UV and the water mean that plastic just literally dissolves into natural biodegradable components, melts into the soil and disappears. And that to me is like, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's absolutely amazing. Like, because I was speaking to Tom beforehand, I was like, you know, what's been growing up here? And he says, just restart. He says, it's not plastic. And I was like, all right, okay, that was one of my questions. Like, you know, how would you balance that out with the pH of the soil and what does that look like?
This has been a whole journey in itself. I mean, this plastic technology was first introduced back in the 90s, and we tried it on this farm, but it didn't
work,
biodegrade properly, and you were plowing it into the ground. And it was back in the time when maybe people kind of went, sure, look, it just disappears into the ground, don't worry about it, you know?
One of the pieces, like I mentioned, I actually gave a lender one of my books by John Thackeray, and we speak about the impact of machinery on the soil and how it compresses it, and how there's the nutrients have been, you know, through commercialization and industrialization has actually kind of eroded the profitability of the soil. You've been talking about a new tractor, okay? Like, so you got a new tractor. You're like Jeremy Clarkson over here. I know you don't want that comparison.
That's all right.
But what does that look like? You know, how do you measure the use of machinery on the soil? And have you seen any correlation between that heavy impact of big machinery on the soil versus the yield?
The impact of soil health, massive topic, and such an important one. You know, we've been losing soil, millions and millions of tons of soil every year, desertification, erosion, the organic matter content of soil has been reduced as we continue to till them and basically pulverize them. So what's happening? How do we stop this, and how do we survive into the future? Well, there's a couple of subtle but major changes have been happening on farms. So what you're finding is less and less plough techniques. So the traditional way of turn the furrow, inverting the soil completely, so that you bury the weeds and you create a loose seed bed. Forget about it, because you're releasing carbon into the atmosphere, you're disturbing the biome in the soil, and when you only need to scratch a line to insert the seed. Now that works for a certain number of crops like arable, grain, cereals, but if you're going to plant spuds, you still need a fine soil, and you have to till all of the field
to make it take,
your question about the tractors, I mean, I've got a little vintage grey Fergie tractor here on the farm that my granddad actually would have used 70 years ago. And the tractor today is a monster in comparison to it, yeah? And the tractor that I own today, our modern tractor, isn't one of the biggest tractors out there at all. Right. But, I mean, if we want Irish farmers to be able to compete on international markets, we can't hamstring them or expect them to go around with little dinky vintage machines and compete with, you know, the Dutch growers or the US growers or whatever. So the technology on the tractors, though, is also moving. So what we're seeing is, number one, more tractors. So if a tractor is on a big track as opposed to a tire, it's creating less soil compaction. The second thing is GPS is allowing some farmers to say, listen, this is the trackway that I'm going to drive all the time, and I will never go drive outside of that. Right, yeah. So all the soil in the rest of the field is immaculate. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So there is ways that we're harnessing technology to try and counteract the impact.
Well, one other question, you mentioned about the Irish Farmers Journal, and you write for that. Are you the editor for it?
I used to write for the Farmers Journal, but I now write for the Farming Independent.
Farming Independent, okay.
Yeah. It's like United and City, yeah.
All right, okay. Yeah. So you're involved with kind of writing for the farming community. Yeah. What are their biggest fears at the moment for their profession? Apart from the age of the farmer?
Yeah, so succession is a big one. I suppose one of the things that I have mixed emotions about is whether farmers are being pilloried by environmental organisations and the general public for being big polluters, right? Yeah. And the reason I say I have mixed emotions about it is that there is no other business out there that has as big an impact on every acre of our landscape than farming, yeah? Because farmers are the custodians of, you know, 3/4 of the landscape, the Earth's land surface, yeah? So, of course they have a big impact. And I think farm leaders have been guilty of poo-pooing the environmental concerns. I mean, for years there was, you know, climate change is somebody else's problem, and, you know, the Chinese are pumping out loads of emissions with their coal stations and blah, 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 and sure, ours doesn't really count. And that wasn't good enough. Right. And I think it did farmers a disservice because it was, in my opinion, poor leadership.
What you've done here, is it for every farmer?
No. And the reason I say that, and here, listen, Gerry, just in case anyone's under any illusion out there, I am not one of Ireland's top farmers. Yeah. I in fact, truth be told, I'm not a very good farmer. I'm not patient with stock. I get bored sitting in a tractor. I don't spend enough time in crops to know exactly all the diseases and how things are going exactly to the day by day. So I don't hold myself up as a
poster boy.
Yeah, exactly. What I am lucky to have here is a very a good farm with light soils, workable soils, so we could kind of grow those unusual types of crops like daffodil bulbs and that type of stuff. You know, we're also close to a lot of urban development, a lot of population centres, so it's a good location for retail offerings.
Absolutely. The proximity.
Yeah, we're close to the coast, so we have a mild climate and all the rest of it. And every farm is different. So, you know, the neighbour's farm is a bit more hilly than mine, so wouldn't be that well suited to maybe growing bulbs. Going that way, the land might be a little bit heavier. You go 50 miles the other way, the soil type is completely different. So every farm is going to have a bespoke kind of and there is no blueprint, there is no formula that, this is how you should run your farm. Because, some farmers will be brilliant at machines, and other farmers are brilliant at stock. Yeah. And other farmers, struggle to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. So, what you do on your farm will depend on a lot of different factors, yeah?
Well, one thing you are definite is this is a brilliant example of a really strong customer experience and a strong experience in terms of educating the next generation. So we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for showing us around.
Such a pleasure.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
There you go, a little memento of your visit.
There we go. Thanks so much. No, that's really cool.